Okay, now we're going to run a regression model for this data set. So we're going to look at the trained data and validate data and so on. We have a chapter coming up later on, chapter 6, where we will go through the regression analysis in more detail. But here we're going to look at just to give you a flavor. Okay, so we already have the data set divided into train, test, and valid. So we're going to use the train and valid data only. And the command for regression is, okay, so we're going to run a regression and capture all the results of the regression analysis into a list. Okay, so we will call that list reg. Okay, and we will use the function we're going to use is called LM, linear model. So that's what LM stands for. And then you have a bunch of stuff. The first thing we have to specify is the formula. So what formula you want to fit. So we want to fit total. Okay, let's make sure what that first variable name is. Okay, so it's total underscore value, right? So total underscore value is the dependent variable. Okay, and then we use a tilde. Okay, now what we want is all the variables, right? Now except, okay, so here we don't want to use tax, because tax is a function of total value. So tax cannot predict total value. Total value is what is going to determine your tax. So tax is not one of a predictor variable. So we want to remove tax. So the dot means all the variables, and then when you say minus tax, that means except tax. Okay, and then we have to specify what the data is going to be, and we're going to use train data, right? So train data. Okay. Now once we have specified the formula, we have specified the data, and you run. Okay, so now you see nothing, right? Well, but there is your list. Okay, if you click that, it's going to give you a bunch of stuff that's in that reg. So you have the coefficients here, you have the effects and fitted values, and so on and on and on. So we will not go through all of this at this point in time, but we will look at this in more detail later. But we're going to look at some of them now. Okay, so now we want to create a data frame of the actual value and the predicted value or the fitted value and the residuals. Okay, so all of these are there. So let's call this tr dot results. Okay, results of the training, right? So what we want to make this into, so we're going to pick out some columns and then put them together as a data frame. So we need to specify that this has got to be a data frame. Okay, and then we want the actual value, we want that first. So train data, right, total value. So that's our actual value coming from the train data. All right, next we want the fitted value. So the fitted values are in this reg. The reg has the fitted values. So if you go to reg, all right, now you look for, okay, so here is the fitted values. So we can specify reg, okay, dollars, because it's a list, so you can put a dollar sign and then specify what you want. So fitted, when you start typing FI, it prompts you, so fitted value. So we got the fitted value, and then of course we can compute the residuals ourselves by going the actual value, the total value minus fitted value. That's your residual. But residuals is also available in reg. See right there. So residuals. Okay. So now you run that. Then we have TR results. Okay. There you go. Then R automatically figures out what the column names need to be. So it uses the data frame name and the name of the field. If you want to change that, how would you do that? Well, you can do that by going names. Okay. Names tr res and then set it equal to a list of names that you want. Okay. Now we can do the same thing for valid data. Okay. But valid data, you don't have the fitted values. Okay, we'll look at valid data in the next video. In the previous video, we used LM function to fit a regression model for the trained data. So now we're going to use that model that we have fit to predict the total value for the valid data. So we have to first find, okay, so there is the coefficients are in reg, right? So the reg has all the coefficients right here. So, but we don't have to figure out what those coefficients are ourselves, and we can do, say, let's say pred. We want to save it in pred. So in that reg, we have, well, the function that we will use for predicting y values for the valid data set is, there is a function called predict. And predict, you have to specify first is where the model parameters are. So the model parameters are in reg. So you specify that, and then you specify where the new data is coming from. New data is coming from valid.data. Now if you run that, you see the new predicted values are generated using the coefficients in reg. Okay. Now we can set up VL.res, right? Like tr.res. So we're gonna, so let's go ahead and copy paste that and make the adjustments. So here we want valid data, not trained data, actual value. Okay, valid data, total value. Now the fitted values, predicted values are not, this is the trained predicted value. The validate predicted value is right here. So PRED. Okay. Now we have to now create a new column. We have to compute the residuals ourselves. So let's say we call this residuals equal to. So this is a way of naming the new column ourselves. So here we're going to take the actual value. So valid data total value minus the predicted value. So that will give us the residuals, and then we can say we don't want the whole thing. So let's say we want to just look at the top 6. So that's what head for. Okay, so now if you run that, so you see you get the actual value, predicted value, and the residuals.